Today's webinar, we're going to be talking about what is a natal chart and how can it improve your life. I'm going to be monitoring the chat. If you would please, hi Richard, type in the chat and tell me between 1 through 10, what is your experience with natal charts? 10 being a lot, 1 being never heard of it, 5 somewhat, so I can get kind of a feel for the audience. Okay, we have a 6, a 5. Oh, you're hearing me poorly? Okay, appreciate that. Let me make sure before we get too ahead of ourselves that I'm using the correct. Yes, I bet this will make a difference. Maybe not. Tell me, you can hear me okay? Okay. Um, there's a Yeti stereo microphone. I just make sure. Yeah, it looks like it's just you. Okay, you can. Perfect. Thank you. All right. So we'll kind of do a restart there. So today's class is going to be what is a natal chart and how can it improve your life? So what we're going to talk about today is what it is, how it's created, some of the key placements like the sun, moon, rising, what they reveal for you, 3 practical ways to use your chart for more clarity and confidence, and how to get your own natal chart created for free. So let me ask, and just type yes if you have your natal chart, or no if you've never created a natal chart. Oh, wow. Okay, so you guys are new to this whole experience. Very exciting. So you're going to learn a lot today. That's great. All right, so there are ways to create your natal chart. There's tools online. There's an app I actually use, which I'll share with you today. But yeah, what you're going to need to create a natal chart is your birth info, right? Your date, time, city, and state for where you were born. That's all the most critical information that you'll need to run a natal chart. And that's kind of where we want to get started. So again, everyone, welcome. I'm happy that you're here. Thank you for taking the time to join me in this sacred space tonight. In this interactive session, we're going to explore something truly magical, your natal chart. You know, this is your cosmic blueprint, right? It's the energetic fingerprint that shows you who you are at your core, what drives you, and how the universe designed you to shine. So before we get started, let's just take a deep breath together. Inhale, exhale. You know, I just want you to feel calm, open, curious as we explore the wisdom written in the stars. So by the end of tonight's session, you'll have a good understanding of what a natal chart is, what your sun, moon, and rising signs reveal about you, and 3 practical ways to use your chart for more clarity, confidence, and alignment in your life. So you might ask, what exactly is a natal chart? So this is actually what it looks like. It turns out to look something like a circle with several planets lined up here. Might be a little hard to see, but this is literally what a natal chart looks like. And it is basically a blueprint of when you were born, the exact time you were born, where the stars and planets were in the sky. So how it works is it shows where the planets were located in the zodiac signs and houses and how their energy influences your personality, your emotions, your purpose, your experiences. So to create it accurately, again, you need those 3 key things: your birth date, your exact time of birth, and the city and state of birth. So those details will allow us to calculate your rising sign and understand your chart's exact energetic imprint. So your chart's like a cosmic mirror. It reflects your soul's design, your potential, your lessons, and it's a unique way for you to interact with the world. Now, personally, I have done natal charts on most all of my family members, my friends, guys I've dated. It's crazy accurate. I don't know why or how, but it is what it is. So it's almost like knowing somebody before you know somebody. You can literally run a natal chart and learn about somebody's personality before you even get to know them, and it'll start unfolding and you'll be like amazed. I've also used my natal chart to make career decisions, and I find that I'm on the right track, energetically speaking. So it's pretty eye-opening when you really dive in a little deeper. So now let's talk about the big 3. You have your sun, moon, and rising sign. So if you would like to drop your sun sign, which is what everybody tends to know, go ahead and drop your sun sign in here. I'm a Pisces sun, and the sun sign is actually what everybody knows of today. Like when you go to read your horoscope, literally that is your sun sign. And so a lot of people just look at the sun sign and they say, okay, that's who I am. But what they don't realize is you have a rising sign, you have a moon sign, you have all sorts of other pieces of the puzzle where you might read and think, I don't feel like a Cancer, or I don't seem like a Taurus. It's because you possibly have other signs that are influencing other houses and other parts of you that make up your whole picture. That's why when I read my Pisces, Pisces tend to be a little bit more timid, whereas I'm a go-getter. I'm ambitious, but that's because I have a Capricorn moon, right? So that's why when you take the whole picture of your natal chart, it starts to make sense how you're made up of several planets, and the sun sign is just the tip of the iceberg. So your sun sign represents your core identity, your purpose, and what makes you feel alive. It's your essence, the energy you radiate when you being your true self. For example, with the Pisces sun, like me, I tend to be intuitive, creative, empathetic, and deeply connected to the emotional and spiritual world. Whereas a Leo sun might crave self expression and leadership, and a Capricorn sun may feel most fulfilled when they're achieving and building something meaningful. So your sun shows your why you're here, what motivates you, and what lights you up. So to kind of go through it here, I can pick on the audience. Cancer, which again is between the dates of June 21st and July 22nd, is the nurturer. So you're deeply intuitive, caring, and protective. Cancer thrives when creating emotional safety for themselves and others, and their lesson is setting healthy boundaries. Now, if I'm looking at a Taurus, the Taurus indicators, let me find that really quick here for us for review. You're the grounded builder, right? So you're loyal, steady, and sensual. Taurus values security, beauty, and comfort. Your lesson is learning to release control and embrace change. And for Aquarius, let's take a look there. So we have folks here in the room. The visionary. So you're innovative, independent, and community minded. Aquarius brings the future forward and champions uniqueness. Your lesson is embracing emotion and intimacy. So that's just one small piece of the puzzle, right? Now we're going to talk about your moon sign. So your moon represents your inner world, your emotions, your instincts, and how you nurtured yourself and others. So it's what you need to feel safe and emotionally fulfilled. So for example, a Cancer moon feels secure when surrounded by emotional warmth and family, while an Aquarius moon needs freedom and individuality to feel happy. So your moon reveals your emotional truth, what you crave beneath the surface. So let's take a look at that. Now, I said in my training today I was going to run some charts. So if somebody wants to volunteer, I'm going to use my software here to provide me, you don't have to give me too much, but if you would like to provide me with your date of birth, and if you happen to know the time of birth, Mimi, and also the city and state, I will gladly run you through my program and take a look and see what those three things are for you. So let me do that real quick. Let me clear up and create a new account. So, okay, let me see. We're going to do a test person here. And it looks like, if I'm correct, that's May 15th, 1990 as the date. Okay, May 15th, 1990. And let's take a look at that. And that was at 8:20. And is that 8:20 a.m. or p.m.? That's very important, actually. Confirm that. 8:20, uh, going back to Irina, Eastern time, EE time. Uh, Sorry, I'm not sure if I'm following that. Eastern European, okay, perfect. And is that in the morning or night? And you might have answered that, but morning, perfect. Yes, 8:20, perfect. Okay, I'm going to put your name here too so I can follow along with who I'm pulling information for. And Bucharest. Okay, let me take a look here. Bucharest, Romania. Make sure we have got a lot of these to choose from. So we're going to make sure we pick the absolute right one. Bucharest, Romania. Here we go. So I'm finding a Bucharest, Colombia, but that's not right. Let me go back and find the Romania. I did see Romania. There we go. but it's spelled Bucharest, but it's probably just translating. Okay, yep, here we go. So there you go with the H. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, let me make sure this is right because everything's important. So again, May 19th, 1990, 8:20 a.m., Bucharest, Romania. Perfect. So let me go ahead and take a look for Irina. And I am going to take a peek here and find out your feminine energy is very strong. So you're sensitive, profound, and grounded. The heavy concentration of earth and water presents an intense yet flexible seriousness. There's also a sense of self preservation, hard work, and strong ethics all around are present. So there's a full report here that I can send you. If you guys want your full reports, let me give you my email address. You can just send me an email and I can send this to you for fun. And it's quite an eye opener. So just drop me an email at my address and I'll send the full PDF report. But we're going to just kind of get down to business here and get the facts. So your sun sign is Taurus, your moon sign is Capricorn, and your Venus is Aries. So if you're taking some notes, maybe write this down. I'll repeat that. So your sun sign is Taurus, your moon sign is Capricorn, which I'm a moon Capricorn as well. So I tend to work really hard and I need structure and stability emotionally to feel good. So your sun sign is Taurus, which means you express somewhat like a wealthy, you like beautiful, soft, lovely things, right? So your expression is really grounded as a Taurus, and your emotional needs are more Capricorn. You really desire structure in your life. And then let's see if I can find the rising sign here. So your rising sign is Cancer, which is a very soft kind of mode here. So knowing your sign and your moon is in Capricorn, I'm actually getting into the moon piece. So let's go to the Capricorn moon so I can give you a little more insight on what that's about. Just as I predicted, it needs structure. It thrives on accomplishment and reliability to feel safe. So you prefer to show love through actions, not words. And your emotional lesson is to allow yourself to lean on others. It's okay to need support. And I kind of struggle with that a little bit too. I'm really strong on the surface. It's hard for me to be vulnerable. So that's something to note. And if we have time today, I might dive in a little bit on some other parts, which are nodes. So if you're taking notes, you have North Node in Aquarius. We might have time to touch on that. And your Midheaven is Pisces. So just write these things down because they will be pertinent here in some of the future talks that we're going to be having. We're also going to be discussing a little bit about houses. So a house is another thing that determines a little bit more about your personality. Like, for example, you have Neptune in the seventh house, which means you're sensitive and compassionate. You often give more than you receive in relationships. Your ideals matter, and therefore, you're at your best in a fair and balanced partnership. And in marriage, you are dedicated and committed. So this is an influence that's very strong in your chart, right? So there's certain things that are more strong than others, but you have a lot of feminine energy, more so than the masculine. And also, you're more, there's a lot more earth in your chart than there is the other elements. So, yeah, earth and water are present abundantly. So yeah, a lot of great information here. So hold on to that, Irina, as we go forward. And we have another volunteer, Richard. So let me go ahead and pull up your data and see what we can learn about Richard here. So yeah, welcome. Yeah, hold on to that. We'll get into more detail. So 6/26, 1986, June, right? 6/26. Um, Let me pull this through here for May, June 86. Okay. And what time? 8:50 a.m. And let's see what we can pull up here. And then we have Clarksville, Tennessee. Okay, let me find that. Tennessee, save. All right, let's take a peek and see what we figure out here. So, what you have is fire and water are very strong in this chart. So, the combination of fire and water represents trauma. This is an incredibly sensitivity. This is an incredible sensitivity which manifests in strong emotions and some mood swings. So, let me find out what more we can figure out. So, you have a very interesting chart with fire and water, like really equal in its balance. So let's see. Your sun sign is Cancer, your rising sign is Leo, and let's scroll down. Sun sign Cancer, Pisces moon, and like we said, rising sign in Leo. Your midheaven is Taurus, so take a note of that. And your north node is in Aries. So all good information. Yeah, so like I'll send you this full report if you would like. Just drop me an email. So now that we have some more information to go on here, let's take a look at Richard's moon and see what we can learn here. Let me go back to that. So you have a Pisces moon, and that means you're an empath, right? So this means you're deeply intuitive and compassionate. You feel the emotions of others easily, and you need time to recharge alone. So one of your emotional lessons is boundaries, protect your magic, don't lose yourself in others' feelings. And then the sun is in Cancer, which we touched base on earlier. So the rising sign, also known as your ascendant, is how you show up in the world. It's the energy people sense when they first meet you. So you could think of it as your vibe or your energetic outfit. So, for example, I'm a Libra rising and tend to give off charm, balance, and harmony. People might instantly find me approachable and graceful, whereas a Scorpio rising radiates magnetism and depth, even if they're quiet at first. So, together with your sun, moon, and rising signs, it tells the story of who you are on the inside, how you feel, and how you appear to the world. So it's a whole combination of things. So no two charts are alike ever. It's like a snowflake. And, that's what makes astrology so deeply personal and beautiful. So again, I believe one of you had Aries rising, and I do as well. So the Aries rising is the go-getter. They radiate courage, confidence, and initiative. They're seen as bold, energetic, and direct. They bring fresh, fiery energy into every room. And the lesson, though, for our Aries rising sign is to slow down enough to consider others' perspectives. So what's interesting about this is I identify with this Aries more so than the rest of my chart, because when I would read about Pisces, for me, I felt like it was very passive. And I never understood that because I have a lot of Aries in my chart. I had Venus in Aries and so on and so forth. So in my past life, I was in Aries, and that's actually the south node versus the north node. So the south node in your chart indicates who you were in your previous life, whereas the north node indicates who you're supposed to become in this one. And in my previous life, I was Aries, which is why I can't let go of the Aries. It's so much what I was in a previous life. Whereas in this life, I have Libra in my north node, which is a different energy altogether, very social, collaborative, whereas Aries is very independent. Libra is very collaborative. So I'm trying to figure out, and I do this a lot, how not to just do everything on my own, but also work with others well. That's kind of my life lesson in this one. So by doing a in-depth analysis of your natal chart, you can not only understand your south node, which was who you were in the past, but your north node is who you should be now in this life. So very interesting information there, which can all be discovered through your natal chart. So let's talk a little bit about the 12 houses of the zodiac, right? You may not have heard of houses. Give me a yes or no if you even knew that there was such a thing called houses in your natal chart. I want to see how many folks are following along here or have been. Yep. Okay, good. So got a few folks here that know what a house is. So essentially, yeah, new to you, that's totally fine. So there's 12 houses of the zodiac, right? So the first house that's on your chart is called the house of self. And the theme is the identity, the appearance, first impressions, The focus is how you present yourself to the world. The keywords are personality, physical body, life approach. And the ruling sign for the first house is Aries. So the first house really defines who am I, right? So if I were to go back to the chart and look at house number one, for example, this is going to tell me a lot more about a person because of what planet is in that house. So let me take a look here and see what I can discover on the houses. Let me go back to a friend of mine's chart actually and give you a little bit of detail about that because um, this is also detailed in the sense that you can understand a lot about yourself, obviously, by diving into each house. Like, for example, a friend of mine has Venus in the seventh house, right? So, just jumping ahead a little bit, the seventh house is the house of partnerships. And if you really want to get fun with, astrology, I can even tell you where you're most likely to meet the person you're going to marry. I mean, that's just crazy, I know, but like it depends on what is in a particular house. So I've been studying astrology since like elementary school, and this is actually one of the first books that I read, and you may have read this book before, Love Signs by Linda Goodman. This is like an ancient book, right? I was reading this book when I was, very young because this stuff always fascinated me. And so that's why I have all this knowledge about astrology and interest as well. But like I was saying, the seventh house is the house of partnerships, right? The theme is relationships, commitment, mirroring, one on one partnerships, romantic, business, or legal. And it's based, marriage, collaborations, balance, contracts. The ruling sign is Libra. And so the seventh house is who am I in relation to others? So my friend here has Venus in the seventh house. And so, kind of the descriptor is you are crazy about love and positive relationships. Others see you as the bridge for peace. You are non confrontational and dedicated to the cause of balance in partnerships. Much of your time is dedicated to other people. So, Venus in the seventh house matters, right? And it matters like who the ruling sign is for it, as well as what planet you have in each of these houses. So, again, to break down the houses, the first house is the house of self. The second house is the house of values. So that's going to determine your money, your possessions, your self worth, what you value, and how you attract abundance. It's going to determine what do I value and how do I build stability. The third house is the house of communication. So this is the theme of thinking, learning, expression. How do you speak, listen, write, and connect? And the ruling sign is Gemini, and it's how do I share my thoughts? The fourth house is the house of home, which determines your roots, your family, your emotional foundation, how you show up for your parents, your childhood, your domestic life, your private self. And that house, the question is, where and with whom do I feel safe? The fifth house is the house of creativity, where you express your heart and your inner child. And the question here is, what makes my heart come alive? So the ruling sign there is the Leo. The sixth house is the house of health and service. So this focuses on your daily routines, your wellness, your work ethic, how you serve others and maintain your well-being, pets, organization, physical health, work habits. Again, it's ruled by Virgo. And the question in this house is, how can I live with balance and purpose every day? The seventh house, as I said, is the house of partnerships. A lot of times you can find who you might marry or where you'll meet them. Kind of interesting. The eighth house is the house of transformation. The theme is intimacy, shared resources, rebirth. And the focus is emotional depth and the mysteries of life. And this is ruled by Scorpio. And the ruling sign here, the question is, what must I release to evolve? And then the ninth house is the house of expansion. The theme is wisdom, travel, belief systems, how you seek truth and meaning. It is ruled by Sagittarius. And the question for this house is, why do I believe? What do I believe? And how far can I grow? The 10th house is the house of career. And the theme is purpose, your public image, your legacy. Focuses on your ambitions and how you're seen in the world. It is the keywords are focusing on career path, reputation, authority figure, success. Capricorn is the ruling sign, and it's what am I here to achieve? And then the 11th house is the house of community. And the theme here is friendships, networking, social vision. The focus is on groups and causes that inspire you. Keywords are friendships, social circles, goals, collective impact. The ruling sign is Aquarius. And the question in that house is how do I contribute to the greater good? And the 12th house is the house of the subconscious. And this theme is spirituality, dreams, healing, the unseen. The focus here is your inner world and connection to the divine. Keywords are karma, solitude, intuition, hidden strengths. This ruling sign is Pisces. And the question here is, what lies beneath the surface of my soul? Now, you might find that you don't have any planets in certain houses, and you start to panic, like, well, why don't I have any houses there or planets in those houses? And that's totally fine, because usually if there is no house there, it indicates that in a previous life you've already conquered that particular house, or this is not your mission in this lifetime. So it's okay. It's just something that is not a primary focus of your life in this incarnation. So this is all fascinating, and I highly recommend that you kind of dig in a little deeper. And like I said, I can send you your report. If you send me an email, I can send you back a PDF of all of the different houses and where everything's located. I guess it's really fascinating. It helps you kind of understand yourself better. Again, the sun sign is nice. It's the one thing that everybody talks about, but we are so much more than that. Now let's dive into a little bit deeper strategies. Like I was hoping we'd have a little more time here, which we do. I want to talk about the North Node, right? So you're going to find in your report what's called the North Node, and this is your soul's evolution plan. So the North Node essentially is what you're here to do in this lifetime. And there is a key difference between what you see on your chart as MC, which stands for Midheaven, versus the North Node. So the Midheaven is short for medium quali, meaning middle of the sky in Latin. It represents your outer world identity, your career path, your reputation, your public image, and how you're seen by society. It describes what you're known for, your ambitions, and the legacy you're meant to build. So think of it as your professional and worldly destiny, how your talents manifest in the public sphere. So an example is a Leo midheaven might find fulfillment in being seen, leading, or performing, whereas a Capricorn midheaven thrives in structured, goal-oriented environments with authority or entrepreneurship. So the midheaven basically shows what success looks like for you on a worldly stage. So in comparison to the North Node, that is your soul growth and spiritual evolution. The North Node is your spiritual compass. It points to the lessons that your soul came to learn in this lifetime. It shows your growth edge, the traits and experience that stretch you beyond past patterns. Like I said, the South Node is literally your past life. Your North Node is what you're supposed to be doing in this life. So while the Midheaven is about what you do, the North Node is about who you're becoming. And that's really your challenge in this lifetime. Like in my previous life as an Aries, I was very independent, very much I got this. And this life, I have to learn how to collaborate, how to bring other people together, and how to lean on other people, which I can definitely notice in myself as I've evolved several of my businesses and needed to hire employees and work with other people to bring success instead of just doing it on my own, right? So that has been definitely a life lesson in this time frame for me. So a Cancer North Node soul is learning to nurture, soften, and prioritize emotional connection, whereas a Capricorn midheaven is a person that may simultaneously build a public role as a responsible leader, and these can complement each other beautifully, right? And that's kind of what I have going on with my chart, which I'll share with you here at the end. So the North Node shows your inner spiritual evolution, the direction your soul is meant to grow. So how they work together, think of it like this. So the North Node is your soul's mission. The Midheaven, MC, is your career expression and public contribution. So when you align your career, Midheaven, with your soul's purpose, North Node, you experience fulfillment, flow, and true success. And that's the type of reports that I provide to folks when they really want to dive into their natal chart deeper. Is not only, these are your signs and this is kind of who you are, but like I help people understand, like, are they in the ideal career? For example, I've had my digital marketing agency for 15 years and I've had great success with it. because of some of the aspects of my natal chart. But now I'm finding myself more focused on the sacred sound sanctuary and sound healing and Reiki and embracing all of my spiritual gifts. And that's really what my destiny is about, because my sign is heavily influenced with Pisces, which has the spiritual aspects. So what I'm finding is I'm building communities and I'm following my true life purpose, and things are coming easily for me. Like I had 300 people signed up for my sound bath, which 5 years ago never happened. So it's like all of a sudden I'm finding that my path, my clear path, is showing, and it's becoming easier to walk because that is truly my destiny. And that's kind of what I share with people when we dive in deeper into these astrology reports. It's like, are you on the true path? What is your true path? And how do you use your gifts to really maximize that path? It's actually pretty fascinating. And then pair that with where the planets are in the next 3 years. I've got literally a game plan for the next 3 years, that this year I've been building. Next year I'm going to be growing, and the following year I'm going to be, on stages. Like it's kind of interesting to see, but it makes sense. I literally can look back at the years and see how I've been building, and how I've pivoted and how I've had success with other businesses, but how this particular path is so much easier than I've ever had before. So the North Node soul growth path, basically, once you know what that North Node is, you're going to have a better understanding of how to be successful. What is the right path for you? So let me see if I can go back and dive into some of the nodes here and read what I can share with you. So I have Irina with a node in Aquarius. So let me see what it says here for Aquarius. It is saying that the North Node soul growth path is learning detachment, originality, and collective vision. So obviously that's a very short report. But again, if we were to dive into a more in-depth analysis, I could really expand on that particular like collective detail. But that's just a quick snapshot of what Aquarius node looks like. Let me flip back here to Richard and see. The node is Aries. So for a quick snapshot on Aries, this lifetime you're looking to be learning independence, courage, and self-trust. So that might resonate. Now, Richard's midheaven is MC in Taurus. So when I flip the script for Taurus, you're known for creating beauty, comfort, or value. Steady, reliable achiever. And then let me flip back to Irina and take a look here at the midheaven. Just curious. Your midheaven is in Pisces. And so yours says you're seen as intuitive, artistic, or spiritual. You're drawn to healing and inspiration. So again, just quick details, but again, I can expand on all of this on a private reading. But basically the North Node, again, is your inner evolution, right? It's what your soul is learning in this lifetime. So example, you might be learning to be bold, to nurture, or trust your intuition. Your midheaven is how you share your gifts publicly and achieve worldly success. And that example would be leading teams, building a business, or inspiring others. So when they align, your career becomes an expression of your soul's purpose. Your work feels meaningful and your success feels effortless. This is so true. I have found in my career, I cannot work for others, and it's one of these things where in my chart, in my destiny, I have shown to be an entrepreneur in a spiritual way. And it's funny because I never really achieved that until now. Now I'm feeling completely drawn to the spiritual world, and I'm so drawn to teaching people about feng shui, crystals, sound baths, all these things that I always thought was a little bit too weird to like have a community for. But I'm finding that this community is falling into my lap and people want to know and learn about this stuff. And I'm just full of this information. So this is more of a destiny play for me. And so that's what you find. Like you might find that you really aren't best suited to work for someone else. You're best suited to work for yourself. Or it could be the opposite. You're better in an environment where you have that structure and authority. So that's what these natal charts can really show you. So you said, can you repeat midheaven, please? Yes. Let me flip back to that. So your midheaven is Pisces, right? And cultivating, let me go back to your midheaven. So you're seen as intuitive, artistic, or spiritual, drawn to healing and inspiration. So that's just like the very short version of midheaven. So yeah, all really good stuff. So again, a quick example, if someone has Cancer North Node, the soul growth is through emotional connection and nurturing. Again, if they're Capricorn midheaven, their public role as a responsible leader or authority, they might fulfill their purpose by leading with empathy, like running a family, right? So it's so fascinating to me, and I have so much fun doing this for fans and family and clients because it's like, wow, it's just like a light bulb comes on where it's all of these different aspects make sense to build up that person. And I also do relationship compatibility reports, right? Where it's like, okay, if you have their information and your information and you put them two together, how are you actually going to get along? And I have saved myself some heartache. By reading those reports, I will literally go on a date and say, okay, do you know what time you were born? And then they'll call their mom and ask. And I'll be like, okay, thanks. And they'll have no idea why I've asked this question. But I'm literally running a natal chart and I'm doing a compatibility. And it literally will tell me like a lot more than I ever thought I would want to know about how we get along. And I've even done it where I haven't said like, hey, I'm doing this. And then it'll play out like a book. Like all of the things that we have in common. Yes. All the things that we struggle with. Yes. It's quite interesting. So basically, each planet in your natal chart represents a different aspect of your personality and life expression. So together they form your cosmic team. Each planet has a role to play. So we're going to talk a little bit about the planet placement summaries, right? So the sun represents your core identity. It represents your vitality, your willpower, and your purpose. So where the sun is placed in your chart shows what makes you feel alive and where you shine brightest. So the mantra for the sun is I am becoming the fullest expression of myself. The moon shows your emotional nature. It governs feelings, intuition, and inner needs. And it's where the sun is placed in your chart reveals how you nurture and find emotional safety. The mantra here is I honor my feelings as sacred guides. Mercury in your chart is showing your communication and thinking style. So it rules your mind, speech, and learning style. So where your Mercury sits shows how you express ideas and process information. And by memory, I know that my sun is Pisces, my moon is Capricorn, and my Mercury is Aquarius. Now, what's interesting about Aquarius is Aquarius has original thinking, very actually creative thinking. They're humanitarian. They have creative ideas. They're a little bit quirky. And that is totally my communication style and my way of thinking. Like I'm always thinking outside of the box. I'm always coming up with original ideas no one has ever thought of that come downloaded to me from nowhere land. So I can definitely see where that Mercury influences my chart and it makes total sense. Venus, love, beauty, and relationships. So this represents your values, your attraction style, and your aesthetic. So where Venus is placed shows how you give and receive love and what you find beautiful. So the mantra for this planet is I am attract harmony by radiating love. Venus is always something that if I'm dating someone, I look to see where their Venus placement is because this is literally how we want to be loved or love each other. So if we find that our Venuses aren't really that aligned, it's going to be a little bit more of a struggle for the relationship. So, for example, I know that I'm a Venus in Aries. So, even though I'm Pisces sun, my love style is Aries. Aries is very flirty, outgoing, will go bolder and more, pursue you a little bit more than you might pursue them. And so I am very bold in love. I take chances, and that's my Venus style, which kind of doesn't make sense for a Pisces. So see how like the Venus is gonna designate your style of love. And curious for you guys who volunteered your chart. Let's see, Irina's Venus for fun. If we haven't mentioned it, I think we said it earlier, but I'll take another look. Your Venus is in Aries, so you're like me. You're a little bit more bold with love. You're kind of go after what you want. Yeah, Gregory, you've definitely volunteered a chart. Happy to do that. And let's see, go back to Richard here. And your Venus is in Leo. Okay. So a Venus in Leo is going to be very bold as well. Venus and Aries are both fire signs. So they tend to be more action oriented and bold. So your love style is very bold and very basically expressive, and that's wonderful. So perfect. All right. So going through the next one is Mars. Mars is action and motivation. So this symbolizes your drive, your ambition, and how you assert yourself. And that makes me question, let me see where we have our Mars folks. So Richard, your Mars is in Capricorn. So that's interesting. So Capricorn is the hardest working sign, period. So probably finding yourself a hard worker, right? So you have a lot of drive, you have ambition, and you assert yourself. Those all resonate. So this is showing how you pursue goals and express passion. So the mantra is I act with courage and purpose. And Capricorn is a really good sign to have in Mars because they're one of the hardest workers. And flipping back here to Irina, let's see, your Mars is in Pisces. So your style is a little bit more poetic, a little more empathetic, a little sweeter. So your drive, ambitions, how you assert yourself is kind of through a passive process. Like you're not, you use your intuition more so um, before taking action. You're a little bit more cautious before moving forward, but that serves you well because then you don't make mistakes by driving too fast. You take your time to be empathetic and intuitive before taking action. So it's a little different strategy there. All right. And let's see. Now I forgot what my Mars was, even though I thought I remembered these all by heart. My Mars is Aquarius. So I am a little bit more motivated by sort of like alternative thinking and ambition that way. So, like, for example, let me dive into this a little bit more. Let's see if it breaks it down a bit. Mars. Now we'll have to revisit that. Hold on. Let me see if I can. Mars and Aquarius. It's going to take me a minute to click through here. Yeah, I'll have to revisit that because this is going to take a moment to flip through all of the different channels. But yeah, so that's that, Mars. And yes, you can volunteer a chart if you want to type it in the chat there. So Jupiter, this is my favorite one, growth and abundance. Jupiter brings optimism, luck, and spiritual expansion. It's where Jupiter sits shows where you're most blessed and naturally expansive. The mantra is opportunities flow when I trust my path. So if you want to know if you're going to be like making a lot of money in this lifetime, check out your Jupiter. So like my Jupiter is in Taurus, which is great because that's luxury. That's all of the things that Taurus wants achieving in luxury. And so that's a good indicator of success, having a Taurus in Jupiter. And let's see, Irina, let's see where your Jupiter is. Cancer, so that's a very loving sign, very nurturing sign. So that's more home based. So you might find success at home and in children and family and nurturing type situations. So this shows where you're most blessed and naturally expansive, definitely. And let's see, Richard, your Jupiter is in Pisces. So this is basically showing that you have success when you feel understood and when you're in a spiritual place, when you feel empathy, when you're using your intuition. So yeah, that's interesting. All right, we're going to move on here to Saturn, which is discipline and mastery. Saturn is the tough one. That's the tough sign. So when you see Saturn in your chart, this is where you're going to have the most struggles in your life, right? So it represents structure, responsibility, and long-term growth. Where Saturn is placed reveals your challenges that lead to wisdom and maturity. So even though we might like get nervous when we see Saturn in a place on our chart, it is something that will help us mature. It'll help us evolve to the best version of ourselves. So through discipline, I build freedom. So if I were to look for Saturn in Richard's chart, let's see, Saturn is in Sagittarius, and Irina's Saturn. And Sagittarius is the freedom seeking sign. It is motivated for traveling, things like that. And Irene's Saturn is in Capricorn, which is a hard working sign. So those are two interesting placements. Uranus is innovation and freedom. So it symbolizes originality, rebellion, and breakthroughs, where Uranus's place shows where you crave freedom and bring change. So the mantra is I liberate myself by being authentically me. And Neptune is dreams and spirituality. So this rules your imagination, your intuition, your divine connection. Where Neptune sits shows where you seek transcendence and compassion. And the mantra for that is I trust the unseen to guide my soul. Pluto is transformation and power. So it represents deep transformation, power, and rebirth. Where Pluto is placed shows where you experience evolutions through letting go. It is the most challenging aspect on your chart because most of us have a hard time letting go of things. So this is going to be another growth place in your chart. And the mantra is I rise through transformation. And then finally, Chiron, it's the wounded healer. So this symbolizes your deepest wound and greatest gift. Where Chiron is placed shows where healing becomes your wisdom and service to others, and my healing becomes my medicine for the world. So Chiron is definitely going to teach you your biggest lesson. Like my lesson is in this lifetime is relationships, building and maintaining and growing through relationships. Um, and I can see that Irina's is in Cancer, and I can see that Richard's is in Gemini, which is a very talkative sign. So there might be something related to um, expressing yourself in this lifetime and having your words be heard and connecting with people in a communicative way. That's probably what I would just a quick summary looking at that being Gemini. So, yeah, those are key things. So, let's do a quick run for Greg and see really quickly where things are at. So, is that sometimes you guys are European? Is that February 1st, 1990? Just to be sure, February 1st. I'm assuming. If not, please let me know. February 1st, 1990. Okay, cool. And you're looking at 529A. Okay, 529. Um, 5:29 p.m. and that's Fairfax, Virginia. There we go. All right. So, Greg, let's just get you caught up here. Um, your feminine energy is very strong, and you're grounded, reliable, considered conventional. These are the powers that come with a heavy concentration of earth element. You're very strong in the earth element. Your attention is on following proven procedure and careful execution. The physical is more important than the spiritual. You're pragmatic, methodical, responsible. You're truly down to earth. And let's see. So your sun sign is Aquarius, obviously. Your ascendant, or as we know it, the rising sign is Leo, which makes you appear very bold to others. Even though, most people, when they see you like as a Libra, a rising, people see me as balanced and fair and kind and able to kind of be friendly. With Leo, you're very bold as a first impression. Like people notice you. You have a really strong energy. And your node is in Aquarius. Let's see what else I can pull out here. Your moon is in Taurus, and your Venus is in Capricorn. So you're called a stellium. You have a ton of Capricorn in your chart. Anytime you see a particular like zodiac sign in a chart more than 3 times, 3 or more times. In your case, you have Capricorn in your chart. You have Mercury Capricorn, Venus Capricorn, Mars Capricorn, Saturn Capricorn, Uranus Capricorn, Neptune Capricorn. You're very Capricorn. There is a ton of those in your chart. So that is called a selenium, if you ever want to Google that or find out more, which means you really lean heavily towards the Capricorn. Your midheaven is Taurus, your Chiron is Cancer, and you have again your node in Aquarius. So a very interesting chart. As you can see, I don't know if you can see, all these lines kind of line up to one side of the chart, which shows me that you don't have any planets in the first house, the second house, or the third house, or the eighth house. So you probably learned a lot of lessons in the past, and that's what that means. If you don't have a lot of planets in particular charts, that you've probably overcome a lot of things in a previous life, and they are no longer needed lessons. For Irina, you actually are missing planets in the third, fourth house. You've got a lot of planets in most all of the houses, but there's just some planets missing from actually the fourth, third, and second house. So those may not be important lessons for you in this lifetime. And Richard, you are missing planets in the second and third house, but you have a lot of planets pretty well scattered throughout. So you've got a lot of different lessons that you're going about in this lifetime. So we'll talk a little bit about the South Node. Like I said, the South Node is your past life gifts and patterns. So the South Node represents your comfort zone, your past life, you're welcome, past life patterns, the skills and traits you've already mastered. It's the energetic opposite of your North Node, which points toward your soul's growth in this lifetime. So together, the nodes form a sacred polarity. South Node is where you've been, North Node is where you're going. So the South Node symbolizes your past life mastery, right? The talents, tendencies, and habits you came into this life already knowing. Early conditioning, patterns that feel natural but can limit your growth if you cling to them. Your comfort zone, the familiar energy that feels safe even when it keeps you stuck. So the South Node isn't necessarily bad, it's your foundation. The key is to use those gifts in service of your North Node rather than staying stuck in them. So here's an example, like if you have an Aries North Node with a Libra South Node. So in past lives or early patterns, you focused on others, keeping peace, seeking approval. In this life, your soul wants independence and self-assertion. So the lesson is you can still be kind, but you must learn to lead. Now, what's interesting about that example is I'm actually Aries South Node. So in a previous life, I was an Aries, and in this life, I'm a Libra South Node. So it's the flip of that. Whereas in the last life, I was very independent and very assertive. And in this life, I have to focus on more peace seeking, and here I am with this brand called My Peace Guru. So apparently I am focusing on my lesson and using it wisely. So another example, South Scorpio North Node with Taurus South Node. In this case, you've mastered comfort, self-sufficiency, and stability, but now your growth is an emotional vulnerability and shared transformation. So the lesson in this lifetime is true safety comes through trust, not control. Because Scorpios are known for being more controlling, Taurus is known to feel more safe and cozy. So that's how you kind of can relate those two aspects into your lifetime now. So think of your South Node as the roots of your tree, strong and stabilizing. And your North Node is the branches reaching toward the sky, right? Growth, expansion, new light. And you can't grow without roots, but you can't evolve if you never reach upward, right? So the lunar nodes are considered your soul bridge, right? Each node pair shows the sacred balance between your past mastery, the South Node, and your future evolution, which is the North Node. So the goal is not to abandon the South Node. I mean, you still need your roots, but to integrate its gifts while growing into the North Node's higher potential, right? So I have a whole list of North and South nodes. Now this particular tool doesn't show me your South node, but I can get that information through a detailed analysis. And if you guys want like a more detailed report with me, drop me an email. I can let you know. You can tell me like what you're really looking to understand in your life, whether it's relationships or compatibility with a partner or career advice. Like drop me an email, let me know what you're really trying to learn, and then I can give you a custom report, that identifies the answers to the specific questions that you have based on that natal chart. Because there's a lot of information we can gain from that. So we're almost out of time, which I had the best time teaching you guys today. This is like obviously something I'm totally interested in, and I have a lot of knowledge about. I give you a few moments if you want to drop any questions in the chat. I'm happy to help as we wrap up the training today. Okay, I'll give you a chance to chat there. But again, as we wrap up tonight, I want you to remember this, your natal chart isn't about predicting your future. It's about understanding your design. It's your soul's instruction manual. The more you know it, the more aligned and empowered your life becomes. So just take a moment tonight to reflect, what part of your chart are you most curious about exploring next? And what intention will you set now that you know the universe designed you on purpose? Thank you guys so much for sharing your energy with me tonight. I hope this session has given you more clarity, confidence, and connection to your cosmic self. Also, I want to recommend that you guys join me at the Sacred Sound Sanctuary today. You can claim your free chart and continue this journey with our community. I've built this community, like I said, it's in my destiny. I joke, but it really is, to bring this community together, and I'm having the best time in there. I've got sound baths recorded. I'm starting to add more content about natal charts, feng shui, crystal grids, all of this stuff that I have in my brain that I want to share and impart with folks that are really resonating with it. So when you join the Sacred Sound Sanctuary, I will be putting this recording in it. So you'll have an opportunity to go back and listen as needed. But again, I want to thank you guys, your beautiful souls out here. May you continue to shine in alignment with your stars. Thank you guys. Um, so I'll give a moment here and then I'll go back to some questions. You guys are free to hop off here, but I'll stick around for some questions as needed. Thank you guys, Gregory, so much. Richard, appreciate you. Irina, everybody. Renee, thank you. Lisa, everyone so much. So if I'm born in one country and then move to the US, did that change my chart? Great question. No, it does not change your chart. So your chart is based on where you were born. Basically, it is the blueprint. The minute you take your first breath, and the time is 8:10 on this day at this time in this city and state, that is your snapshot for your natal chart. That's why having this information is critical. So it is based upon where you're born. It does not change. Now, if you want to nerd out with me on another training, I also have knowledge about what's called astrocartography, which means there are certain places you can live in the world where you're going to be more successful. For example, I moved from Cincinnati to Florida, and Florida, where I'm living right now, is a big love beam for me. It is the best place that I can live to build the best friendships that are possible. And I didn't really know that moving here, but as I started studying astrocartography, I understood that this is literally the best place for me to be. And that's another report that I can provide you guys if you're curious to know, based on your natal chart, where in the world you could live or even vacation to get more abundant or to find love. There's so many things that are pretty amazing.